Oh, India. If you get a second too, I wanted to see about it. I'm helping Akron. They don't have a contract. They haven't had one for 3 years. They won't honor the black holidays. They won't give them vacation pay, holiday pay, sick pay, retro pay, bonuses. So I want to have a conversation with you to see. No, I'm saying make so I can be appropriate because I go there. And they've been in negotiations going into 3 years now. So I was trying to see what would be the appropriate way for me to, because the union president and I communicate. Okay.
Yeah, I can do it. You can do it.
I see you got convenient again too. Convenient. Hello. Tell Mr. Terry I said hello.
Go ahead and get started. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee. And Avis, could you call the roll?
Melody Pachetti, Chair. Mayor Marie Gallo. Deidre McPherson. Here. Mr. Jeffrey Sleesman. Here. Lauren Roach.
Present.
You need me to do it. You want me to do that?
Excellent, thank you. So we have a few items this morning. The first is approval of minutes from the August 5th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. So this morning we'll have two items, two presentations, the traction results reporting for the second quarter of 2025. That includes the customer experience surveys, and then we'll also have a quarterly management report. So for the traction results, I'd like to invite General Manager Birdsong Terry up with Nick and James, I believe from Transpro Consulting. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Got a packed house today. We appreciate you for your time. We've got quite a few presentations today. We're going to start, as was mentioned by Trustee Pachetti. We're having the Traction Quarterly Performance Review. Can you guys hear me okay? Is better?
Yes.
Okay. The Traction Quarterly Performance Review for Quarter 2 of 2025. As was mentioned, I have a couple partners with me this morning to be able to go through that information. Nick Bigger, who is the Senior Director for Customer Experience and Performance Management, will be taking the lion's share of the internal data reporting. And then also we are championed and through our external partner with Dr. James Rubin, hailing all the way from New York City. As we start to go through this, I'm really going to just set the stage and let these two gentlemen kind of delve into the data. But we always like to be able to kind of level set as far as what we're going to bring to you today. Performance management is something that we take seriously. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty, so to speak, of what this data means for our organization. We're finding that the customer experience spans well beyond our customers that take the service, but also our internal customers as well, and how we're able to really thrive internally is a reflection of what our customers see. So we're going to go through our report card, is what I like to call it, for our organization, and then the customer experience survey results. For the board members, you have a booklet at your desk there, and then also we end by letting you know when we're going to come back. All right, so looking at the overall, this is the organizational scorecard for the agency, not to be mistaken for the departmental. You've got the same 4 success outcomes to your left, and then the goal points. That's really what we strive to achieve quarter over quarter, and we are reporting for quarter 2. So all of the information you're starting to hear today, whether it's this presentation or the quarterly management report, which will come next, we'll really be giving you a snapshot of the last 6 months. We hope to be able to achieve the goal points that are outset by the end of the year, because quarter by quarter is very variable, depending on weather, depending on events, depending on delays, projects, all of that. But we're doing a pretty good job now. We're in the B+ category. If you look to the right-hand side, we're 88.5 out of 100. We wanted to make sure that we cap that at 100, so we can't get 101 or 102. We've got to make sure that we have a clear report card that's easy to understand by most audiences, including us. Customer experience, as you can clearly see in the yellow, is where we are right now for quarter 2. So we have hit our goal for quarter 2. I always like to put that as a caveat. It can fluctuate between the next 2 quarters, especially with weather and school coming back online. So you've got to mentally think that this is for the end of June. Community impact, we're getting there. We're getting closer to what we want to achieve. Excuse me. That has a lot of projects that go into what folks perceive of the relevance of RTA. Excuse me. And then the employee investment really is our HR function for all intents and purposes, as well as our training. How well do we recruit folks? How well do we retain folks? And then also, do our employees feel that their careers are being invested into on a daily basis? We're nearly toward that 20 for the goal, but we're inching toward that, and I would say safely in that wheelhouse. Financial health is something that we continually work on. Financial health, as you are quite aware within the industry, is tough when it comes to public transit, as far as financing, funding, grants that we may get, and also the internal stewardship of how we handle our operational funds, as well as capital expenditures, and you'll hear a little bit more about that as we get into the nitty-gritty of some of the projects. We're getting closer to that 15 goal, but we are not quite there yet. You'll hear some more about that as well. So here's a little bit more of a deep dive into the success definitions that I just mentioned. Again, the points are on the left-hand side, and then the definition gives you a little bit more detail. The status, you want to look at the red numbers in comparison with the left and right columns, and that can also give you a little bit of detail about where we're coming through. I want to also bring your attention to the financial health for the competitive capital grants on the bottom. A lot of that, and we always say that, but it is true, a lot of it is due to timing as well, as when the grants come through, things that are happening through the federal, state, and local politics. So sometimes that number will fluctuate depending on when a lot of these grants are awarded, when they're loaded into the system, so to speak, the software, and when that also comes through and us cutting checks. So we'll go into detail on that. You'll see some changes, especially within paratransit. That's something that always has an ability to fluctuate as well. But as far as the capital side, we also have some really good progress on some major projects that we have been had in a pipeline for a while. I also want to be able to bring a little bit of attention, and then I'm headed over to Nick for a minute. The customer experience, we have knocked that Net Promoter Score out of the box. That is not a typo. 29 is the success definition, and we are at 54. That's huge when it comes to how folks are kind of looking at us and how we're operating. There are a lot of projects and a lot of pilots that we have going on. Excuse me, guys. There's something called Going to Gemba, which we've mentioned before, and this is kind of an all bought-in process that everybody has to be able to go see what is happening in the system, not from behind your computer, but actually what's happening on the bus and the train. So we'll get into that in a little bit more. I'll get a little water and come back. I think Doc is going to get it. Thank you. A mint or some water. I appreciate the care that our customers give us. does, thank you. So I won't muddy through this, I'll be back on the mic, thank you. And that net promoter, much better, that net promoter score really is a testament to how we are taking seriously the service. There's a lot of things for transparency that we're trying to get out there as well. When it comes to the digital era, making sure that we understand what's happening in real time. So you'll hear a lot about that as well as we go through the data. So I'm going to hand it over to Nick, and he's going to deep dive into some of the success outcomes that we've got for fiscal year 25.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Chair Pachetti, members of the board, my name is Nick Bigger. I'm the Senior Director of Customer Experience and Performance Management here at the RTA, and I'm here to talk about our second quarter organizational performance. So just as a quick level set, as Ms. Terry was saying, RTA administers a balanced scorecard approach. We call it traction. So within our balanced scorecard, we have 4 main success outcomes. So these are the 4 most important tenets to our organization. They are the customer experience, community impact, our employee investment, and our financial health. And so all of our metrics and goals align to one of these 4 success outcomes. And so what I'm going to do here is go through our scorecard one success outcome at a time. So up first, we have our customer experience success outcome. So with our customer experience, it's important to note we did achieve 100% of the possible points in the second quarter. The majority of our metrics in this scorecard are derived directly from our customer experience surveys. So we administer customer experience surveys on a quarterly basis. We get approximately 400 responses by mode. So fixed route bus, rapid transit, rail, and paratransit. So roughly 1,600 surveys for customer experience are coming into us on a quarterly basis. We're looking at things like net promoter scores, so asking our customers at a high level, how likely are you to recommend riding RTA? We compare our promoters, those who are highly likely, versus our detractors, those who are not very likely. So you can calculate the net promoter score. So you can see in the second quarter, our net promoter score is a 54. This is the highest net promoter score we've received as an agency since we've been surveying our customers for the last 4.5 years. We're also asking questions like overall customer satisfaction. We're very interested in a couple of key pain points for our customers. So our customers' perception of safety and security, as well as our customers' perception of cleanliness at the bottom there. So these are recurring pain points that we hear about. They're not uncommon. These are typical pain points for customers in public transportation across the country. And then the last bit of metrics there you see are related to on-time performance. So historically, on-time performance is overwhelmingly the most important thing to our customers, so kind of our North Star that we should be focused on. So we measure this 2 ways. We want to know our customers' perception of on-time performance as well as the actual data. So as you can see, as you go down the metrics here, each of the metrics either met or bested the goal. So we got a 40 out of 40 for our customer experience in quarter 2. Switching into the community impact success outcome, we also have a bit of survey data on this scorecard. This is a different survey. So this is our community value survey. We administer this survey twice a year. This goes out to the community at large. An interesting nuance to this is when we get responses back, only about 20% of those respondents actually ride RTA. So 80% of the people live in the RTA service area, but they don't ride. So they give you a good nuanced understanding of the value of RTA to the region. I said we administer the survey twice a year. We get approximately 600 responses back from our community survey, so you can understand the scale of that survey. So we did come in at, we administer twice a year, so we carried over our first quarter results to the second quarter results. We should be administering that survey again soon. So that number is a carryover from wave 1. We're also looking at our transit-oriented development, so new projects where we're partnering with an external partner, bringing it to the board for approval. We have a yearly goal of having 4 new TOD projects. We've had 1 for the year, so that's that metric there. We're very interested in private sector investment to our major capital projects. So what's that ratio of infusing private sector dollars? We're looking at where we're investing. So the capital money that we receive, where are we investing it? Are we helping the community investing in low sustainability efforts. So we're looking at a reduction of type 2 emissions. And so for the second quarter of 2025, our community impacts scorecard got a 17.1 out of 25 possible points. Switching into employee investment, this is a lot of our human resources efforts here. Two of our metrics have to do with manpower, so vacancy fill rate. So a huge pain point for our organization for the last several years has to do with our vacancy fill rate, specifically for operators, but also other mission critical positions. So we're very interested in our operator fill rate, mechanic fill rate, and transit police. We call these our mission critical positions. So we came in at 92% fill rate out of our goal of 95. At the bottom there, we're also looking at a vacancy fill rate for non-bargaining positions. So that's slightly bested the goal of 96% versus 95. The second metric there, called Cultivate Internal Talent Pipeline, what this is measuring is our internal promotion rate. So we're looking at the employees who are here. Are we providing them career pathways so that they can promote up through the organization? So we have a goal of 36%. In the second quarter, we had 43% for that metric. And we're also looking at our agency-wide retention rate. So we were at 96% retention rate compared to our goal of 90%. In totality, we had 19.7 out of a possible 20 points for employee investment. Lastly, we have our financial health success outcomes. So there's 3 metrics here. Each of the metrics are cumulative in nature. So we're looking at the competitive capital grants that are coming in. So these are the federal monies or state monies that are coming in to help us do the things that we do. So we have an annual goal to try to accrue $35 million, and year to date we're at $22.53 million. So we're at 3.2 out of 5 in that metric. The second one is an important one. So as you know, looking at this year, we have a budgetary plan to transfer just over $50 million from our revenue stabilization fund. We are trying to minimize that hit as much as possible, and so we have an internal goal on our scorecard to try to cap that drawdown at $40 million. So we're trying to achieve $10 million worth of savings out of our operations budget. So year to date, we've transferred $15 million, and our goal is to cap that at $40 million for this year. And the last one you've heard a lot about, we just heard a great presentation in the last board meeting, but this is our transfer to support our rail car replacement fund. So we have an annual goal to put $10 million into that bucket, and we've thus far transferred $7 million into that bucket. So we've achieved 11.7 out of a possible 15 points for Q2 financial health. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. James Rubin from TransPro, who's going to give us a little deep dive into our customer experience surveys.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Before I jump into the results, just a little bit of preview before we go in. I'm going to show you some very good news and a little bit of bad news and a little bit of no change. So I don't want anyone to think that we're here just to deliver good news when the first thing that we're going to look at is some pretty good news. The second thing I want to remind everyone about is that staff here at RTA have been working really, really hard around issues like safety and security, cleanliness, on-time performance. And sometimes when we see results jump from one quarter to the next quarter, we're tempted to think, okay, all of that good stuff that improved that satisfaction happened in the previous quarter. But customers don't often think that way, right? It's more of a cumulative impact that they have to experience improved on-time performance, experience better perceptions for their personal security over time, and that's when these numbers start to improve. So when you see a jump up, it could just be that we've reached a threshold where customers have experienced that improvement over enough of a long enough period of time that they're reflecting that in the results. So let's dive right in. First piece of information is tremendous good news on fixed route bus. You can see here an improvement from a 27 in the last wave, which we can almost throw out as an aberration. If you look at that 27, it really kind of is out of place. You can see a steady improvement wave over wave, over 5 or 6 waves with that exception. The 61, as Nick mentioned, is the highest achievement for fixed route bus net promoter score in recent survey times here for RTA. So it's a tremendous accomplishment and one that you know we should be proud of from all the work and the customers reflecting this in their response on fixed route bus. So great job there. We will talk at the end of this presentation about what is driving that specifically. And I'll tell you, you already know because we've already showed you in this presentation, so we'll get to there in a second. Here's overall satisfaction. That's our other measure of overall satisfaction, also ticking up from 68 to 74 for fixed route bus. So good news there. We would expect that blue line, that 4-quarter rolling average, to tick up as well over the next subsequent few quarters when we collect more results. What's most important to fixed route bus customers, and again, this is an aggregate. I lost the screen. This is an aggregation of things that are most important. So when you see drivers there on this list, it's going to be a combination of, the driver is courteous and helpful, and the driver is operating safely, and all of those things that you would be concerned with under drivers. So you can still see the same three. There we go. The same three most important things to customers here: personal safety and security, cleanliness, and on-time performance. You'll see those same three reflected for fixed route bus, for bus rapid transit, and for rail. It's just worth noting here that there's a little bit of a spread between those top three. It's sort of a stepwise progression from personal safety and security to cleanliness to on-time performance, indicating that safety and security is paramount and most important to fixed route bus. There does seem to be some statistical difference between each of those three top categories for fixed route bus. Okay. Fixed route bus. There we go. Bus rapid transit. So remember, I'm not here just to deliver only good news, and on bus rapid transit we can show a little bit of negative here, a little slipping on net promoter score from a 24 down to a 17. Not a huge dip, but a noteworthy dip in a quarter in which regular fixed route bus service saw such an improvement in net promoter score. So probably an indication that we need to spend a little time thinking about the customer perception and experience on the bus rapid transit. Here you can see pretty flat in overall satisfaction, 70 to 72. So the same improvement that we saw for fixed route bus, we don't necessarily see for bus rapid transit. You can see that these percentages are a little closer to each other, meaning it's kind of a mix, a little bit more of a mix of things that are concerning to the BRT customers. Personal safety and security up there on top, but cleanliness is a little bit more right behind it, on-time performance, and a little bit more play here with the relationship between the customers and the drivers and their perceptions of their drivers, a little bit more important here on the BRT route than on the rest of the fixed route bus. The other piece of good news I'm here to deliver today is improvement on rail, which saw a corresponding improvement like fixed route bus. We saw a 24 last time we went out and surveyed, up to a 43 net promoter score. We haven't had a net promoter score this high for rail since September of 22. Great work there, and corresponding improvement in overall satisfaction for rail, up 10 percentage points from 65 up to 75. We haven't had a 75% satisfaction rate in rail since December 22. So phenomenal results there as well for the quarter. And here, what's most important to rail customers, again, very, very, very similar on those top levels: personal safety and security, on-time performance, and cleanliness. You can see cleanliness kind of slipped down a little bit from previous rounds on rail, meaning that customers are a little bit less concerned with cleanliness on their rail system, which usually is an indication that they're experiencing cleaner vehicles. What happens is the concern goes down as their perception of that attribute improves. And paratransit continues to show exceptional service across the board. 66 net promoter score. 66 net promoter score is extremely high, but I will note that the bus net promoter score is creeping up close to it. So friendly internal competition there. Overall satisfaction remains up, creeped up just past that 90% satisfied threshold in this quarter. So really great to see there. Again, reminding everyone that the personal safety and security concerns for paratransit customers is not exactly the same as it is for fixed route bus and rail. There are different safety and security concerns, more concerns about getting into the vehicle, being helped in and out of that vehicle, less about the conditions around the bus stop or on board the vehicle itself. We combine all of this to give an agency result, right? And I do want to remind everyone that what you're looking at is primarily driven by fixed route bus, because that's about 70 to 71% of your ridership. So the agency results here are weighted by ridership. With that in mind, you can see that Net Promoter Score improvement agency-wide from 27 to a 54. That's an improvement of 27 points. Industry sample average right now is at about 37, so you're well above that. You can see the overall satisfaction improved from 68 to 74, a 6 percentage point improvement. Tremendous achievement there. So I said that I would come back to telling you what's driving that improvement. And if you'll think back toward when Nick was presenting the customer experience scorecard, some of those items on that scorecard are the attributes that are most important to customers, right? Their perceptions of personal safety and security, on-time performance, and cleanliness. Well, let's go through each one of those for the agency. On-time performance perception improved from 61% to 77%. 10 percentage point improvement. I'm sorry, 67 to 77. Perception of personal security improved from 63% to 68%. That's a 5 percentage point improvement. And here's the big one. Perception of cleanliness across the entire RTA system improved from 48%, and let's note that 48% is below the 50% halfway mark. It improved from 48% to 61%, a 13 percentage point improvement in perceptions of cleanliness. Those are the three most important attributes to your customers. And when you improve in those three most important attributes, overall satisfaction is going to improve, Net Promoter Score is going to improve.
Thank you, Dr. Rubin. So just to close us out, kind of a bird's eye view of where we are with our traction cadence. So we're in the highlighted box here in August. So we're doing our board report this morning. We do always align our internal quarterly strategy meetings with our board report. So this afternoon, we're doing a deep dive with senior leadership to go over our traction results, our customer experience survey results, and something that I'm actually really looking forward to. As you heard Ms. Terry talk about going to Gemba. So that's really the guiding spirit behind a lot of the initiatives and formal processes that we're launching, which is basically compelling us as employees of this agency to get out there, right? To ride our service, to go to our transit centers, to see, feel, and experience things from customers' perspective. So we had a nice initiative this summer where senior leadership actually adopted customer personas and went out and did a customer journey from a customer's point of view. And so we're going to have journey mapping presentations this afternoon from senior leadership. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're just very excited to continue these initiatives to try to drive improvement. I did want to say one last thing. Ms. Terry and I have been talking. So we did meet with Ms. Pachetti one time just to kind of go over traction in a little bit more detail. And so we do think we'd like to offer that to the full board, kind of like a traction educational session or whatever. So more to come on that, but I did just want to float that out there in this meeting. And at this time, we'll field any questions that you guys have.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And for inviting the board to learn more. It's fun to dive deep into this, and it's really important. Thank you again. And I did have a question. I really appreciate that you broke everything out by mode. I thought that was very helpful. I'm just curious how you guys think about, like, when there's, like the rail it goes out for a couple weeks or a month or something like that. Does that affect the scores? How do you, when you're surveying people, how does that play into or not the things that we see? And would we, I'm anticipating we might see effects next quarter or so. So I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, that's a great observation and definitely accurate. And so the nice thing that we do is we have our data going back in time, right? So what we kind of see, and this aligns with that, are quarterly trends. So like year over year, you see kind of the same ups and downs by quarter. We do a lot of our planned rail shutdowns in the summertime, right? And so we're able to kind of compare our data summer to summer. But we would expect to see some blips on that, right? So certainly it is inconvenient to our rail customers, when we have to take the shuttle service, we're mindful of that. We do try to plan that as much as possible to limit that as much as we can, but we compare light data to light data. So summer to summer, we're mindful of all of the shutdowns that occur.
Can I just jump in quick? I think ideally you would survey when there are shutdowns so that you get a true read on things, but sometimes that's not possible, so you have to do it. The last round, I think, of major rail shutdowns you all had last year, we actually saw some of the results bleed out to other modes beyond rail, because we saw some of those rail customers were using bus, were using the BRT, and those opinions were being expressed. They were given a chance to express their opinion while they were being diverted, which is never ideal from getting a true read on customer sat.
Thank you. Makes sense. Any questions from the board members? Yes.
I'd like to pick up that thread, and this wouldn't necessarily be reflected in traction data, but are you comparing any ridership data to those surveys? So my real interest here would be, okay, if there's an outage, we're getting some lower survey numbers, but if ridership rebounds after there's an outage, it's clearly what can inconvenience people, but they're still our customers and they're still on board. Whereas on the reverse, if we've had something happen, we may have some lower survey data, and also it might be reflected in lower ridership going forward, and that clearly might be an incident or an experience that we've lost them at that point. Are you doing any of those comparisons, or is it we're just looking at the surveys?
Not formally, but I think that's a terrific idea. So I think that's something that we can start to look into.
I would also suggest, Joel was kind enough actually in our recent service ops presentation to note when there's a change of frequency, what the change in ridership is. That's another one of those. I really appreciate the surveys and the time series of the surveys, and we also, these are stated preferences, and we also have revealed preferences, and when people just kind of ride more or ride less often, and that is clearly like, okay, we've done something there, or something has happened, and we're gaining them or losing them as riders. And so sometimes when we have things, the changes in frequency that Joel presented last time around, I was also looking at, I sometimes sound like a broken record, but in 2017 the helpline was 4.2 million in ridership, by 2019 it was 2.6. Something happened in the meantime that we lost those 1.6 million riders. And there was corresponding drop in fares, and even though operating costs didn't really drop that much, there was something going on there for real preferences, whether or not we had stated preferences amongst our, if you surveyed those 2.6 million riders, they may still be fine, but something happened with that 1.6. So just take a look at those, because people sometimes vote with their feet, not necessarily in surveys.
Sure. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome presentation. I'm glad to see all the increases in customer satisfaction, cleanliness, perception. It's great to see. One trend, and I'll pick up where Trustee Sleason kind of left off, but I particularly noticed when we were looking at, I think it was client satisfaction, and I don't know if it was specific to rail or not, but it seems to be, from maybe June, July to December per se, you see that dip in ratings across the board. And I know you spoke about, there being, outages for trains during that time, but I'm also interested to know what possibly contributes to those winter months. And, I can pull out, out of a hat that it's weather, right? But there may be some things in there that might be worth noting or paying close attention to. So I think, to Trustee Sleason's point, comparing these data sets to ridership to see if some of that maybe is just a result of less people, riding at that time, or if there are other concerns, or maybe for whatever reason something else. So just keeping that in mind going forward. But overall, great presentation. I'm glad to see the results.
Thank you.
If I can add just one thing. You can hear me now, right? Okay. I will say that this is definitely a work in progress, so we appreciate all of the feedback. I think it's really great. These are the kind of questions that we want to hear. And I will say that there is in addition to Nick and Kim Wright on the management side, there is a third leg to this trio, and that's Zane Patterson. Not to put the pressure on Zane, I don't think he's in here. If you're listening, Zane, don't worry. But he is kind of the data guru out of the three of them, if I can say that, and really has a great mind for metrics and data coming from a business analytic kind of processing from the operational side. Interestingly enough, all three, Kim, Nick, and Zane, all worked at Hayden together at some point in their careers, if I'm not mistaken. So it gives a really good launching pad to be able to look at trends that are operational and not just the customer satisfaction, and taking it for face value with nothing else. I do think, as this team does report into me directly, the idea is to be able to have a business intelligence relationship with the rest of the district. So, for example, I know Doc's team in operations really works in tandem with Joel's team as well, who's over service management, to really kind of not just know what's happening, but why it happened. And I think that being able to kind of integrate Nick's team from a data mining perspective will make a lot of sense. So that is on the horizon. We are about a quarter or so into them being in existence. So we have a long way to go, but I do think that is definitely on the docket, so we appreciate that. And what I did kind of whisper over to James Rubin is I think that part of our presentations, I'd like to also see us provide a little bit of information so that we're not here forever at the dais, but to be able to give you details as to why we think the numbers have changed. So for example, if we see a huge jump in NPS, what are some of the things that we've been doing that might be leading to that uptick in satisfaction? Or on the converse, what are the things that we aren't doing that we think might be an indicator as to lower numbers quarter by quarter? We have a lot of spirited debates here at RTA about whether or not we should look at things on a cumulative basis year over year versus quarter by quarter. And although both sides of the argument are valid, the quarter by quarter wins the day because we have to understand that we're dynamic. So with that in mind, we will bring you more information to be able to kind of support the survey so that we also can not be functioning at the whim of the customer. Because we do know that if there is something happening on the service where there's a major delay, all of a sudden your NPS may tank. So we've got to understand the details behind the data. So we will be working on that and come to you with more. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? And then I'd like to move on, just given we have a lot on the agenda.
One other real quick question. And also, I wouldn't necessarily hold this distraction, but James, you mentioned that paratransit riders have a different set of priorities when it comes to safety, security, different set of issues. That made me think, when it comes to, okay, we just had a jump in vehicle cleanliness, and this picks up on the thread you were just talking about. But kind of what goes into those perceptions, and whether or not it shows up on the survey. Nick, if you're following up and saying, okay, wait a minute, why did that perception of cleanliness jump? Or not necessarily between modes, but those perceptions of safety and security. It's like, okay, what is driving that for the other? If we have something changing, it's like, oh, okay. Things may be very clean. They may not seem that way. Things may be very safe. They may not seem that way. So there might be a little bit of a disconnect between, I don't want to have Doc and his team cleaning the heck out of buses if it's something that's driving a perception that isn't the actual, microbiology of the situation. So just if there's either if there's follow-up questions with riders or something else to add some clarity on some of those.
So terrific point. And this is something, when we receive these survey results, we spend a lot of time looking at these with our teams. So we go out to all the operating districts, we really deep dive in and make sure that we share the information, but we have lots of conversations about them. And what you just brought up kind of happened organically within our organization, right? So for many waves, we were collecting this cleanliness data. It's always been the biggest bugaboo for our customers. Like you said, we feel like we're cleaning the heck out of these vehicles. I've been here 15 years, and I can tell the standard hasn't improved in terms of how frequently and how well we're cleaning the vehicles, but the numbers are still lagging. And so we took the opportunity to open up our survey questions a little bit more. So we're still asking along the same lines of what's driving our customers' perception of cleanliness, but we put an open field in there. And so we said, hey, in addition to all of these questions, tell us what is influencing your perception of safety. And so we did find that when customers are responding to the question of cleanliness, there's other things that we would naturally associate with cleanliness. So things that you might more attribute to perception of safety and security, right? So perceptions of mental health issues, those types of things. In the open field boxes, wound up there. And so I think that's a terrific point that you just had. And so we're now having a more nuanced conversation about it. So yes, this is the data, but these are kind of the drivers of what's leading to our results.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay, with that, thank you so much, and we'll continue the conversation as we dive deeper into these reports as they come out every quarter. So thank you. Okay, I think we're going to turn now to the quarterly management report, and I'll just say, for those of you here for public comment, stick with us. We have one more committee meeting before the board meeting, so be patient, and we'll get through everything. All right, go ahead, General Manager Bruce Terry.
Here we go. All right. I will be as quick as I can because I know we've got a lot on the agenda today. We have a QMR, as we call it, the quarterly management report. You do have the books at your desk there for the board members, and we also have this available electronically for those that are in the public. I will stay very high level for this one, but wanted to make sure that you saw some of the detail behind the numbers. We have a couple of highlighted areas. So Raj Gautam, who is our Deputy General Manager for Finance, will help me through a couple of these items to make sure that we are all in the same accord. I want to also mention that we have a Secretary Treasurer report coming up, and some of the numbers that I have in my presentation here, again, are for the first 6 months, the second 3 months of the year, so our second quarter of 2025 only. This is what is represented in this report. The Secretary Treasurer report is for the current, and that may give you a little bit of changes in some of the numbers because you've got to think 3 months in arrears for my report, which is always a little interesting. So as we go through the total revenues, this is pretty standard. We have the $1.75 million, which is a little over 13% higher than budget. Passenger fares, we like to bring you through that, and sales and use. Sales and use tax is something that we don't control. However, we want to make sure that we report on because it does affect our overall financial health. But passenger fares, of course, we do have a little bit of say in that, a little bit of sway in that rather. And this comes down to timing, issuing of receipts. However, we have it reported as of the second quarter, 11% lower than budget. On the reimbursed expenditures, that includes our fuel, preventative maintenance, labor, and other miscellaneous receipts. A lot of this is timing. We are looking at around $9 million, and then of course we have a transfer of approximately $15 million from the Revenue Stabilization Fund, and we'll get into a little bit of those transfers in the next slide there. On the operating side, of course, we get into the salaries and the overtime. As was mentioned by myself, and you'll hear it as a thread throughout this presentation today, the series of presentations, we are really pulling back on some things financially to make sure that we don't kind of fall into the idea of the fiscal cliff. You'll hear that term. It's not my favorite, but that is a term that you hear for public transportation in the media, and really that is a forewarning of financial concern for public transit as we near toward trying to estimate how much our expenditures are and balance that with how much our capital is moving out the door, as we also really function very heavily dependent upon grants. And when you have grant competition, sometimes you don't know what's going to come in until it comes in. So we need to make sure that on the operating side, we have less transfers from that preventative maintenance bucket to make sure that we are not stopping the bleeding on the other side. Fuel hedging and utility contracts, just wanted to mention that again. The information is in your books, but we have come in nearly 4% lower than budget on that side. But then, of course, that's also going to be augmented by the ADA. This is one thing that I'd like Raj to be able to talk to, the purchase transportation. Sorry if I'm talking a little fast. Purchase transportation for ADA is that third party. As you have heard, we have multiple vendors that are helping us being able to provide that service in fair transit. We have reported into you, and you will see in the resolutions that we're asking for more money to make sure that we can continue with this service. This comes down to timing of invoices. I'm looking at John Tyre, I'm looking at Raj Gautam, because we're actually reporting 5.6% lower than budget. That is not a sustainable number. We are expecting that to go up, and then that also is timing. So Raj, if you wanted to have a couple of comments to that bullet point so that we can explain the numbers.
Absolutely, India. Thank you. For those online, this is Raj Gautam, I'm the DGM of Finance. The numbers that we are presenting to you are pretty much on a cash basis, which means that we record expenses when they're actually paid rather than when the services were incurred. So the timing, what we're talking about, the timing issue of invoices, these numbers only represent 5 months of expenses. The 6 month, the invoices came and arrived in the accounting department with payment towards the end of June. They got paid in July. So those invoices total roughly 1.4 million. So if you add the 1.4 million to the 5 months of expenses, we are actually $1 million over budget in the purchase transportation. So that's the timing of the issue. It's on a cash basis, not on an accrual basis.
Are there any questions on that particular item? Because we were going through the data as we normally do, and we don't want to give the perception that we're actually under budget when we're over. So I just wanted to pause for a moment to see if anyone had any questions about the financing behind the paratransit item. Okay, I'll move forward. I talked about the reserves and I talked about the transfers. This is just a quick snapshot. Again, it's in your book. This is another item. Raj, we're going to talk really quickly about that. You're the star of the show today. The $7 million to rolling stock. Raj will give you another number in probably about a half an hour when he goes through his Secretary Treasury report. Raj, did you want to explain the difference? It's pretty simple.
This is a year-to-date number. So through the end of June, we had actually transferred $7 million towards the $10 million goal that we had set for the rolling transfer to the rolling stock reserve fund. In July, the remaining $3 million transfer was made, so we will meet that $10 million goal.
Thank you, Raj. So again, I always like to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Understand exactly what the numbers represent. You're looking at a snapshot in time with this presentation due to the 3 months in arrears. Raj will bring you up to date. The good news is we have made that $10 million commitment for the transfer. And that's what we bring to you on a quarterly basis is the update. With that being said, I'm just going to be able to kind of breeze through this one for a moment. This is a snapshot, making sure that you understand on the right-hand side, you see the data. The rail car replacement, we've gone through this ad nauseum. $40.8 million. These are the amount of money for expenditures in the capital program, so you really understand where our money is going. Of course, that tops the chart. You see that through the bar chart as well. And you have it by year on the bottom. We're in the blue for 2025, of course. Facilities improvements, reimbursements, that's the PM, the preventative maintenance and labor that I mentioned before at 7.3. And the rail projects, that's really the infrastructure projects that are there to keep us moving. Those are the support projects, whether it's track work or station work, to be able to keep our system moving. That's separate and apart from the rail car replacement program. So these are the things we would have had to do anyway, whether or not our rail cars are 40 years old or 4 months old. So we wanted to make sure that we had a separation between those two items so you could really see the difference in what we have to do to keep the system moving and then what we have to do to replace it. So with that, I will begin to end my presentation. If you do take a look at the summary that is authored by our team and under my name in the first few pages of the book here, it really gives you a good snapshot of the things that you hear from us all the time. Some of the major items on grant applications that we have out there, for example, replacement of the roof at Trisket Garage. Those are those kind of those things that we have to do for preventative maintenance and repair. We also, you heard from Nick Bigger and kind of the building of his customer experience community. And then also, we would be remiss without reporting on transit police. We had 14 new officers that came into the fold in Q2. We have our chief, I believe, behind the pole there, Deidre Jones, along with a lot of members of her team that are really maintaining the numbers. We want to make sure that we have a full roster there for transit police. Safety and security comes up quite a bit. There have been some amazing stories, if I can say, from some of the heroes that do work here as far as how we're able to keep our customers safe internally and externally. We also celebrated the 50 years. You guys were a part of that. We appreciate it. And then there are a couple of major milestones as far as awards. Management and budget, of course, was recognized. I want to say they're in their 30th year of that. I want to say it's 36 or 37, if I'm not mistaken, which is an amazing run. And then also NAMAC, which is the Northern Ohio Partnership Award for the National Association of Minority Contractors. It's quite a bit, but this is due to our DBE work and our small business support for the community. And of course, a lot of you were there for our E79 build, kind of digging in the dirt. I always like to say that it's less of a ribbon cutting and more of a celebration of work to come. So with that concludes my QMR report, unless there are any questions.
questions from the committee? Or the full board? Okay. All right. With that, thank you very much for that report, and I think we can adjourn this committee. So, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second, Welch.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this committee is adjourned.
Thank you. Order the committee of the whole board. Roll call, please.
Mayor Paul Kumar, Chair.
Here.
Ms. Lauren Welch, Vice Chair. Here. Ms. Anastasia Elder.
Here.
Mayor Marie Gallo.
Here.
Mr. Stephen Love.
Here.
Reverend Charles Lucas. Ms. Deidre McPherson. Here. Ms. Emily Pachetti. Mr. Jeffrey Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor David Weiss.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. The next item, we have approval of minutes, and I would like to amend by reading and ask Raj and Avis to go back and review the record so that the minutes reflect all members of the committee of the whole. I think we're a few short in the committee's members present, not present, so we can just amend that by reading.
Thank you, Mayor.
So I'll take that motion. Do I have a second?
Welch.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that passes. Great. Next, we have the internal audit report from our executive director, Mr. Fairfield.
Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the Committee of the Whole and Executive Management Team, guests, and folks online. For the record, I am Anthony Garofoli, Executive Director of Internal Audit, and I will present the results of the Internal Audit Department activities for the second quarter. Please refer to this book that was handed out prior to, and some of you received it online. I'll walk you through that. I'll begin with last Tuesday, August 12th. We presented these activities in detail to the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is a summary. Beginning on pages 3 through 5 is the 2025 Internal Audit Plan, which was approved at the February 25th, 2025 board meeting. Per our professional audit standards, the plan was aligned with the RTA's strategic plan and performance metrics. You heard those metrics in the presentation given by Ms. Birdsong Terry and Nick Bigar. And again, those are customer experience, community impact, financial health, and employee investment. On pages 6 through 8, please find the results of 3 audit plan projects completed during the second quarter. These projects are employee travel expense, on-time performance, and fuel expense for compressed natural gas buses and electricity to propel our rail cars. We met with management, received the responses to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. We will track the implementation of the recommendations in our audit management system, and then there were no issues for board consideration. Moving on to page 8 is a summary and matrix of our work to provide assurance on compliance with federal grant regulations for the different vehicle replacement contracts which were approved by the board. Please see that matrix. We conducted several vehicle replacement audits during the second quarter. Again, there were no issues for board consideration. Both management and our contractors were in compliance with those regulations. Pages 9 through 10 are the results of our continuous auditing program. We develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time, completing 100% of the audits for the transactions. Those audits continue and remain to be fare collection, purchasing car transactions, nepotism, and employee payroll. Again, we shared results with appropriate stakeholders and management. There were no issues in the second quarter for board consideration. Pages 13 through 20 of the report section focused on the rail car replacement program. For the request of the audit committee and the board, we included the results of our audit activities related to the entire program with a focus on change orders and contractor payments. Please note on page 13, the first painted car shell is complete, and assembly is underway. Management is preparing for the final contract option of up to 12 rail cars. If you look on page 14, is a picture of that painted rail car. Page 15, we included a copy of the change order log maintained by the procurement department. There were no change orders to the Siemens Mobility contract during the second quarter. The total value of that contract and change orders remains at $308,389,849.21. Total payments to the contractor as of today are $115,921,197.95, representing approximately 37% of the contract and not paid. Pages 16 through 17 are tables to summarize railcar program contracts, amounts, expenditures, and change orders. Internal audit is engaged in various audits as we continue to assess risk and compliance. The status of those audits is detailed on pages 17 through 20 of the report. We did complete one audit during the second quarter, which is a railcar infrastructure modification design audit. There are no issues for board consideration. We'll report on the rest of these audits in future meetings and certainly in detail to the audit committee. Pages 21 through 24 are projects at various stages of completion per our internal audit plan. Please note we added project phase to provide our readers with transparency and information status. See those matrices. We will report on these projects in future audit committee meetings as well. Pages 25 through 26. Please find the details and update of 3 special projects and emerging issues. We're completing these projects in our role as Inspector General for the RTA. We'll share the results of these investigations with appropriate stakeholders in accordance with our audit charter. We'll follow up on all outstanding recommendations. Page 27 is our efforts to work with external auditors. Please recall the state auditor completed the financial and single audit for fiscal year 2024. They shared their report with the board at the June meeting, an executive session. Internal audit worked closely with the external auditors to coordinate work and to maximize the risk coverage. That report was released on July 9th, 2025 by the state auditor. We'll continue to work with the Federal Transit Administration's Program Management Oversight Consultant for the rail project, another external auditor we're coordinating with. The remainder of the report is informational. We continue to follow up on all audit recommendations to validate corrective actions that are implemented. We participate in several steering committees and meetings to learn and share risk management strategies. Finally, on page 31 is the staff training that we attended during the second quarter, and then the last page is our staff profile. At this point, I can answer any questions from the committee if you have any.
No, it's pretty, everything we expected was covered, nothing out of the ordinary.
Anyone else?
Just a quick comment. I just wanted to compliment you on the presentation of the, all the content here, and also like just flagging for us the new things, the new projects in progress. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Not? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second, there was.
All in favor? Aye. Adjourn. I'd like to call to order the RTA Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Welch, Vice Chair. Ms. Anastasia Elder. Mayor Marie Gallo. Mr. Stephen Love.
Here.
Reverend Charles Lucas. Ms. Deidre McPherson. Here. Ms. Emily Pachetti.
Here.
Mr. Jeffrey Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor David Weiss.
Present.
You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Next, we have approval of minutes. Is there a motion for that in a second?
So moved, Mayor Weiss.
Elder?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. Item number 5, public comment on non-agenda items. If you could please state your name and city of residence. Do we have anyone here first?
Good morning, everyone. And Mayor Cormar, Jesus is going to fix it for you. I see you thinking over there. Before I speak, please don't take my time away from me because I'm going to give you what I have for you all this morning.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to go along with while I'm doing it. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Make sure the Vice President gets the one that's
Good to see you.
You too.
Excuse
Real
me.
quickly.
Excuse me, before she starts, Mayor Coomer, we did not read the notice.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I skipped over that. Why don't we go back to number 3, certification regarding notice of meeting. My apologies.
Mr. President, I first advise the notice of this meeting has been posted more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, and that all usual notification has been given to news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
Thank you. Please, Reverend.
Okay, here we go. Good morning once again. Good morning once again. For resolution number 85, one of the operators stated to me at the Windermere station that the operators need a hub. They have nowhere to rest and refresh. And they need a hub. Someplace they can get something to eat, take a break. I'm going to go down my list real quickly because I have to get out of here myself. I would like to know the trajectory of the RTA system so we have some more clarity. I want to thank you for updating the 79th Street station, and I want to make it clear to all who may be listening that this is not an opportunity for racial profiling or marginalization, or because money is being spent in a predominantly black or poor community that there's going to be some type of violence that we're going to tolerate at RTA. So we want to make that very clear. And I want to thank you for fixing the 79th Street, and we want to make it clear that as it's being fixed, it's not going to be torn up. So we're going to be paying attention to that. The operators are only receiving 2 paid personal days a year. That's unfair and unreasonable. And some operators are working 8+ hours, including 12 hours, without a break. The operator on the number 48 stated once again that they're very displeased about only having 2 personal days. You all have the information that's before you. I've already emphasized that. I'm not going to reiterate things or be redundant. The roads on West 150th Street impurities are damaging the operators and the passengers, according to a passenger of concern. I ask that the adopted shelter program be restored. As you were talking about cleanliness for the rail, we need to have it for our shelters as well. An operator stated that the scanners need to be differentiated between the disabled and the student passes to eliminate fare evasions. And that's all. Everything else is in writing. And I was homesick, so I had to come home, everybody. And Jesus is going to work it out for you. Okay. And you all don't forget to take care of Mrs. Birdsong Terry. And you tell your husband when I said, thank you for allowing and welcoming you and helping you to help us.
Thank
and the sacrifice you make. Everybody have a blessed day, and we are not tolerating violence in our transportation system. I hope you heard that, whoever's listening. Thank you.
We have others in the audience who would like to speak.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Hinkle. I'm a long-time resident of Cleveland, a long-time RTA. It's just a suggestion that during the heavy snow, I feel that you on this point,